What do you want 50 years from now, history to say about Kamala Harris?
I hope that, and I really do work that my life will have proven to have been a life that is about fighting for the people.
The cost of that softball interview was a whopping $500,000. That is what the Harris campaign provided to Al Sharpton's nonprofit to her sit-down interview with Sharpton, and that's certainly raising some eyebrows, certainly because, you know, it goes against common journalistic ethics.
In today's video, Senator Uygur and Ana Kasparian dive into a brewing controversy involving politics, media ethics, and public trust. Reports reveal that Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign donated $500,000 to Al Sharpton's nonprofit, shortly before he conducted a favorable interview with her on MSNBC. Critics argue that this financial connection should have been disclosed, accusing both Sharpton and the network of violating journalistic standards. But the story doesn't stop there. It also raises broader concerns about Sharpton's public image, allegations of racial favoritism, and the increasing skepticism Americans have toward mainstream media.
What do you want 50 years from now, history to say about Kamala Harris?
I hope that, and I really do work that my life will have proven to have been a life that is about fighting for the people.
The cost of that softball interview was a whopping $500,000. That is what the Harris campaign provided to Al Sharpton's nonprofit to her sit-down interview with Sharpton, and that's certainly raising some eyebrows, certainly because, you know, it goes against common journalistic ethics. But nonetheless, the Harris campaign made two separate $250,000 donations to Al Sharpton's National Action Network, an anti-discrimination group, on September 5th and on October 1st, the second coming weeks before Sharpton interviewed Harris on the network. Now, Sharpton did not mention the contributions that the Harris campaign made to his nonprofit at all. There was no disclosure about it whatsoever. And as far as MSNBC goes, they told Chuck Ross at the Washington Free Beacon that they were unaware of the campaign donation or the donation to the nonprofit owned by Al Sharpton. Now, that could be true. I don't know, but MSNBC would not confirm whether they're considering reprimanding Sharpton, if there's going to be any consequences for this. Now, the Society of Professional Journalists also told the Free Beacon, while Al Sharpton may not consider himself a journalist, many viewers do. When TV news broadcasters do not report their conflicts of interest or conduct their work in ways that run counter to ethical journalism, it builds distrust among their audiences and places a black eye on both their network.
The $500,000 donation was reportedly made in two installments, one on September 5th and another on October 1st, to Al Sharpton's organization, the National Action Network. These payments came just before a friendly, unchallenging interview with Vice President Kamala Harris aired on MSNBC. Sharpton did not disclose the donation during the broadcast, a move many say violates fundamental journalistic ethics. Senator Uygur and Ana Kasparian sharply condemned the situation, arguing it undermines public trust and highlights the troubling influence of money and politics on the media. Al.
I think it was last week, we had Representative Ro Khanna on the show, and we asked him the questions we wanted to ask him. Had Ro Khanna provided a donation to a nonprofit that doesn't exist, I don't have a nonprofit, I would at least have to disclose that to you, but that would be a conflict of interest. I wouldn't have taken that money to begin with, because that money influences the way you're going to carry out this interview.
Okay, can we just be honest? Al Sharpton is the original grifter. So if you don't know, back in the days in New York, anytime there was any kind of racial conflict, this fat ass would show up in a jumpsuit, and he would demagogue against Jews, by the way, specifically, and get people super mad to the point where they nearly attacked Jewish people. And he was a menace, an absolute menace in the New York area. Okay. And then all that got magically forgiven. Why did it get forgiven when that stuff never gets forgiven?
Why did it get forgiven?
Because he decided to embrace professional corruption.
Sharpton's controversial past is also central to this debate. Critics, like Senator Uygur and Anna Kasparian, point to his involvement in the Tawana Brawley case, where he backed false accusations that inflamed racial tensions. They also highlight his role in the 1990s Brooklyn riots, accusing him of fueling divisions between Black and Jewish communities. Additionally, Sharpton has long faced allegations of using intimidation tactics, pressuring businesses to donate to his causes under the threat of being publicly labeled as racist. While his approach may appear more polished today, critics argue that his underlying strategy, leveraging race and politics for personal influence, remains unchanged. MSNBC's handling of the scandal has only deepened public skepticism. The network claims it was unaware of the $500,000 donation to Al Sharpton's organization. But many find that explanation unconvincing. The fact that no action has been taken against Sharpton has fueled accusations that MSNBC is protecting him due to his political influence. Critics see this as part of a larger problem in corporate media, where financial interests and political loyalty often outweigh journalistic integrity. Some even draw comparisons between Sharpton's tactics and those of certain factions within the Black Lives Matter movement, accusing both of exploiting racial issues for financial and political gain. They argue that a form of black privilege exists in media and politics where figures like Sharpton are shielded from accountability because of their race and party alignment. This, they say, contributes to growing distrust in social justice movements and further erodes confidence in supposedly impartial news coverage. Senator Uygur surprised many by openly criticizing Al Sharpton, despite both
Back
being
in the day, because he didn't know any better, right? But he's a smart guy, so he wisened up and he's like, oh, the way the professionals do this is they kiss the ass of the donors, they kiss the ass of the politicians, and they get the real money, the big money. And did he shake down a lot of businesses saying, hey, if you don't give me money, I'm going to call you racist? Okay, go ahead and catch feelings. Yes, he did. Okay. And do you want to know how Comcast was allowed to merge and actually acquire NBC and MSNBC? They had a massive race problem. Al Sharpton came in and said, no, they don't. They don't have any race problem. Guess where Al Sharpton wound up? Hired by Comcast at MSNBC. Funny how that works, right? He got way better on his grift, okay? And he's been taking this kind of money his whole life, and that's why he does the softball interviews. That's why if you criticize Al Sharpton in the old days, people are like, God damn, yes. Now if you criticize Al Sharpton, they go, oh, well, you're being a racist. Racist! No. Why? Because he's now part of the establishment. So now his new mob, the establishment cartel, protects Al Sharpton, and as he runs the scam time and time again.
This highlights Uygur's increasing frustration with the Democratic Party's tendency to overlook ethical issues within its own ranks. He sees Sharpton's actions, particularly the failure to disclose the donation from Harris's campaign, as part of a broader pattern of corruption in politics and the media. By speaking out, Uygur is challenging the party's double standards and hypocrisy, calling attention to how it often claims to uphold truth and fairness while protecting its own.